Isis with Sistah Scifi. This is Sistah Scifi Wind Down Wednesday, where we work hard to make Wednesday your new favorite day of the week. This week, I am here with Nisi, Shawl, and Andrea Hairston, discussing the legacy of particularly her work, Parable of the Sawyer. For those of y'all coming back, thank you for hanging with us. We had some tech issues the first time around, and this time it's going to be absolutely amazing. Hey, Tim, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you. All right. So, and it's going to be great. Can you see us?
Nope, but it's I don't know where you all are, but I think you're behind me or something. So yeah, I can't. When I got off, there was your video back there. So yeah, so I'm just like looking to see if there's some trick that I'm not doing right, but
my guess is it's a bug with Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me re-invite Nisi. Yeah. So maybe there's an update we need to do. Okay. Yay.
And it's the same.
Okay. But we can see you brilliantly now.
I'm just going to say, I don't see why you need to look at me.
No. We really want to see your face, if that's possible.
Yeah, but see, to me, it's less disturbing if you see like anything else than my face 2 minutes later.
Okay. Okay. Hey, nerdy. Fair student, do you have a picture or something? Yeah. Nisi, of yourself that we can focus on?
Picture of my mom?
No, of yourself.
No.
Yeah.
But sure. I look so much like her.
We love it. Okay. Well, if we're good with that, and Andrea, you're good with that, I love it. We'll do that.
Okay, yeah, because I actually can't see anything, but I can hear you all fine.
Okay, it doesn't matter who's there. Okay. The only other thing I can think of is to make sure IG is updated. That is probably true, Michelle. And I'll make sure that IG is updated for all the participants for next week. Okay, so we're here now. Let's do it. Thank you, Jerry. Yay, Tim. So we're all in this together. So let's pause there. I'm really excited about this conversation because I get to talk about the work of three of my favorite authors at once. So let's pause and do introductions. Who wants to go first between the two of y'all?
I'll go.
Awesome.
Go for it, Nisi. Yeah.
I'm Nisi Shawl, and this is a picture of my mother. And we do resemble each other very strongly. My mother, except that my mother is no longer alive. My mother died in 2018, 2 years after Everfair came out, which she's holding there at the senior club. I don't know what else to say. I know Andrea, I know Isis, I know Toby, I know Jerry, probably know others, but I just can't tell from your screen names. And I'm just fine not being on camera, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, so as we said earlier, Nisi Shaw wrote Everfair and Kidding, and several other amazing works. You have a book coming out this fall, right?
Yes, yes. That is the Day and Night Books of Mardu Fox, which is sort of like a clapback to Jack Kerouac.
I mean, I like that. I think I like that, and I like the rhymes. So a clap back to Jack Kerouac.
Yeah,
Like
Kerouac, yes. Yes.
Awesome, Andrea.
Well, I know Nisi and Nisi's mother. I saw her many times when we were at WisCon together. So, and I'm a fan of all the great work that Nisi has done, and I'm in one of her anthologies that she, New Sons, which is of course taken from an Octavia Butler quote. I feel like that, and you've done two of those New Sons books, Nisi, correct?
Correct.
And I was at Clarion West in 1999, so 25 years ago, studying with Octavia Butler, and Nisi was like in the room with us. She was like an aide for the Clarion West cohort of writing, students. Yay! So that's when I met Nisi. Like, oh God, so 25 years, and. Yeah, right. And then I brought Octavia Butler. I'm an emerita professor of theater and Africana studies at Smith College, and I got to bring Octavia to Smith twice. So it was a delight to have her there and have students meet her and to get to talk to her myself. And we talked a lot actually on the phone. So I feel really, really connected to this work, to Nisi, and all of it interconnected with Octavia because I decided to go to Clarion West in 1999 because she was one of the teachers. They had a really stellar group, but Octavia Butler pushed me over the edge. And so that's why I went. And then I had a marvelous, incredible time. And that launched me into writing science fiction and fantasy novels instead of doing plays. So, yeah.
And we have two of your latest newest
I
editions.
mentioned it.
Yeah. And I would say earlier, like I have an order out for a hard copy of We'll Do Magic for Small Change, which is not here yet. Like I ordered it several weeks ago, but here are the other two.
Yep.
Redwood and Fire and Archangels of Funk.
Archangels of Funk, which is, yeah.
I could show it. I could put it on the table.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Here it is on my shelf.
Yes. Okay. That is the edition.
Yay. Okay. So, and Archangels of Funk, people have called it, what was it that they said? Octavia Butler meets Neil Gaiman. So I feel like, having this conversation seems perfect since that book came out in May.
Yes, thank you. And you're right. So when the covers, it's reversed, but Nisi's looks perfect. So I don't know why mine's is reversed, but yes, thank you, Jerry, for that. So, Parable of the Sower.
Sower.
Yeah,
the Sower. Did I say something?
Sawyer.
Yes. Thank you for that correction. Which in 2020 finally made the New York Times bestseller list. It starts in 2024, which is this year. The first, Olamina's first entry, as I was saying earlier, was July 20th. What are some of the most impactful moments of the novel for the two of y'all?
Ooh. Wow. Oh my gosh.
And we can talk about anything you want to talk about for the, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for me, powerful is like what moves the novel. And for me, what moves it is Lauren's preparations.
Yeah.
It's like her clear-headedness and her persistence. You know, she's like not going to be distracted from anything. She's packing those supplies away, and there are other things going on, and she just ignores them because she knows what's coming and she's getting ready for it. And that, for me, it's not like it's not the most impactful moment, but it's the most motive force for me.
Yeah, so she's obsessed, which is something that, Butler talks about a lot. She's and it's a calm obsession. It's a habit. It's a discipline. She will not give up. She is going to survive. She's going to be ready for whatever. And so it's not like it's dramatic. It's not like it's, oh, now I'll survive. It's like, I will be ready for whatever, so she's in that, she's in like a dancer stance so that if anything comes at her, she can move.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of the book. And the adults, because she starts off, she's 15 and she's, got that stance. And the adults are like rigid, or they're like thinking this will be okay or that will be okay, but they're not, God has changed. So she's ready to change. She's not stuck anywhere. And I think that is what drives the whole novel. She's ready to be, grow in any dirt, like, find any, niche. I mean, meet like people and, connect with them if possible, or if not, keep it moving. So I agree with Nisi. That's the power of the book.
Yeah, and I think that's great to highlight. And you also, like, Andrea, speak about one of the more powerful quotes in the book, God is change. That brings me to like the larger religion, Earthseed and the Book of the Living. What did you think of that religion that Lauren develops or comes to in the book, and that Octavia Butler puts words to?
Well, I'll start. So I really think that she gets at the question is how to live, how to be in the universe, right? And the universe, is its own, like, the map of the universe is the universe. The truth of the universe is the universe. So, and it's constantly changing. And so I think, I think Lauren says that she's not creating this religion. She's just uncovering it or discovering what's already out there. So this is like, she's doing a cosmology of like, what is the universe? And then she's reflecting that back, and that power, that God has changed, allows her to, determine her destiny, right? Because that's, you want to be prophetic. That's part of why you have a religion. Like, what should I do? How should I act? How should we all act? So all of those big cosmological questions, she observes the universe in order to figure out how to be in the universe. And she lets the universe be her teacher, like the way the Buddhists say, everything can be your teacher, right? So she does that too. And then she writes down what she learns with the universe as her teacher, with change as her teacher. So to me, it's very much in keeping with, like, how do we survive? Because that's what cosmology and religion is all about, right? How do we get here? Where are we going? How can we, get to the future? How can we live together? Because that's another question. What is life? And so she gets at the entanglement of all life forms and all physical forms, right? Because we're not separate from the planets and the stars and the dirt and the rivers and all that. So she gets at all of those things that you find in many religions. You find, some of what she says in many religions, but you also find this sort of, sanctified a hierarchy that she does not buy into, right? Like, there is like a God the Father whom you must follow. That's not what she finds when she looks out into the universe.
And I will just say that for me, it has to do with paganism. So first of all, like Lauren's full name is Lauren Oya Olamina, and Oya is part of the Yoruba pantheon and is the goddess of change. Okay, like sometimes sudden violent change too. So like it ain't just like, oh, this is gonna eventually happen. No, it's like whoop, it's gone. Whoop, it's here.
Right.
The other thing that it comes to mind for me is the song that me and my witchy friends used to sing. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. Just
right.
over and over again, we would be singing that for hours.
Yep.
That's what I think of those things is like, yep, that's a reflection of what I have been through.
And that's the first, like, I think that, God has changed. Everything you touch, you change. Everything you change changes you, right? So I think that's like the first verse that's in the, right at the beginning of the book. Just, that, like that song. That, the entanglement of, and then, oh yeah, right? Woo!
Yep.
And we're not in control too. I think that's, we're shaping it and we're, but, we don't have the, we cannot dominate God.
Yeah, God is not our.
No.
Agreed. So, for those of you who, so I saw like Lauren's full name, but never clicked in like, oh yeah, is the goddess, the Yoruba goddess of change and transformation. So I dropped that link in the chat for those who want to know more. I did a Google search. I dropped the first URL that I found. There are probably better URLs, but that's a good place to start. So thank you for that, both of you. My next question is, one key part of Lauren's experience is Lauren's hyperempathy, which we see the theme of empathy coming up in both, definitely for Sharon Kinning. We see, I think I remember, like there are themes of hyperempathy in empathy in Archangels of Fun. How did, in reading Parable of the Sower, Lauren's hyperempathy, what did that bring about for you as reading it when you read it?
Oh gosh. So it was like all the negative stuff that goes with empathy was there for this version, and I think that tied up with that for me was the conversations that I had with Octavia, where she was talking about how she wanted to make it more rigorous, more plausible, so she couldn't have like, telepathy happening. She had to have like a scientific basis, and basically it was people believing that they had telepathy, which is different than plain one-off telepathy. So those two things, I think, influenced her interpretation of it. And yeah, I sure did want to do something different, didn't I?
Yeah.
And Kinning, yeah. The hyperempathy to me, I mean, so since I'm a theater person originally, I don't care about whether it's plausible or not. I know I'm having conversations about that because to me it's a story, and and all our minds are metaphorical by nature. So everything that we talk about is actually a story. So when we talk about an electron, there is no such thing. That's a story. I mean, I use that because I studied physics. So it's the best story we can come up with. We can test it, but you cannot hold an electron in your hand. You can't, you can't catch it, but you can write about it. You can say it was there, or there were a whole bunch of them, but you can't really, so our understanding of it is through our metaphors. And I think we often think of an electron as a little teeny, weeny, tiny dot, right? That's moving around fast and it has a negative charge, whatever the fuck that means. Okay, so but we understand metaphorically how it functions, and we're really glad that we can plug in our TVs and have juice and juice. See, so I feel like hyperempathy is a brilliant way of dealing with our tendency in social reality to resist our connections with each other, right? So in dominant hierarchical structures, we're encouraged not to have any connection with those we oppress or kill or destroy or whatever. And so for me, that's the impact. I thought it was like a brilliant metaphorical condition. So that's what I want to do, those kinds of things in my writing as well, to find something that is an embodiment in a metaphorical way of something that's real. Right. So exactly what Octavia wants to do, like it's plausible, so that she feels a world in which feeling like, why would we want to have slaves? And they're reinstituting slaves in this book. I mean, the way a company store, or a company town. And we're doing that right now, right? I mean, I can't believe that, she said it starting in 2024. But, people, they work a wage that cannot, they can't live with that wage. And we're, almost desensitized from the conditions that people have to live in order to survive. I mean, almost some of us are desensitized. So we have to work to feel each other. When feeling each other is actually a part of our
Okay, so Andrea did for you.
I feel it. So it's a lot of social cultural stuff that turns us away from our own capacities. And I loved that she did that, and that was an inspiration for me as a writer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Andrea, in hearing you process it, like there's a mode of thought that the opposite of no, continue, sorry. Sometimes you stop, you've cut, and I thought you stopped, but actually you've cut.
Oh, I stopped.
You froze on our end. So that's what I was talking.
Okay, but I really had stopped. I was done. So
okay.
You keep
so the opposite. Like there's a saying that says like the opposite of addiction is connection. And what I'm hearing is that the opposite of oppression, I can't make it rhyme. Or hierarchy, the opposite of maybe hierarchy is empathy, right? And using maybe I'm testing that out. So like empathy being more than we are feeling each other's thoughts and feelings, but empathy is really a way to work our way through distancing ourselves from others and putting them in really intolerable situations.
Right.
I appreciate that. Nisi?
Again? What? No.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, okay. You're good. I was just checking to make sure you were here, had any thoughts, all that cool stuff. So Lauren makes this huge trek from Pasadena, California, up until what we like mid-California, like Mendocino County, walking along highways. What did you think of that pilgrimage in the book, the way that it's described, the community that she built along that trek?
And Octavia's always talking about building communities every time, every book. In fledgling, just in kindred even, she's like building communities with the people who are enslaved on Rufus's plantation. So,
Plantation,
you know,
right.
yep, that's always the goal. And this just happens to be a mobile community. That's all. That's the only difference I see there.
And I think that, she feels that there's power in, back to God is change, and shaping God and all of her, she does say kindness. I think it's that she says kindness eases change, so that the connections that we can make with one another will help us shape the universe, right? So she's communitarian, that we're stronger together, we're smarter together, we're we are more likely to survive together. The super cooperators, right? If we cooperate, then it will be harder for them to defeat us. And in fact, if we can rope people in, rather than try to defend ourselves against them, then we have more people who are working together. So that, and that's in all the books, like,
Frozen again.
Oh, did I come back?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So it's in all of her books.
Okay. Mercury must be in Richard or something. Yes. So one thing that felt very prophetic about Parable of Sawyer was a president whose slogan was "Make America Great Again." I could be misquoting. Yes. And typically I don't bring that up, but especially in light of the recent presidential debates, I feel like I have to. So I'll leave it there. Thoughts, responses, reactions, guidance.
I think the talents that she talks about choosing leaders.
Yes.
So, and she says, I think it's, don't choose like a coward or a fool or a thief or a liar. So we know who those are. So, I think we've got cowards, fools, thieves, and liars running around. And the problems that she, details in Parable of the Sower are because of the cowardly, foolish, thieving liars that are running things. And then I think, I think there's also like a tyrant too. So I mean, unfortunately, since we're hierarchical by nature, and I think Octavia mentioned this a lot, we are looking for the man with the big stick when there's chaos. And they'll fix it all, and we'll just be saved. And I think what Lauren does is, no, I save myself. And that's something I am working on in my own novels, like the community, but also that we have to save ourselves. We really have to figure out, like, what do we do to survive, and not just survive, but to make the universe we want. So I think Butler is throwing out a challenge to us to get better at what we want.
I agree with that. So I dropped the quote about leadership in the chat. If you're wondering, and agree.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I like this book. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I
Right.
just keep flashing all these covers here.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, Parable of the Talents. It's really, if you've read Parable of the Sower, keep going and read Parable of the Talents, because it's, in it for the long haul. Okay, you got this great stuff. Then how do you like keep it going? How do you keep it going?
Keep it going.
And that we're right in that dilemma. We're right thick in that dilemma, and we have, I mean, because I personally feel so fearful of many things that could happen. I might make bad choices, right? right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to survive with community, right? But my community is fractured at the moment, like everyone I know, the whole range of views are there. And so it's a real test. I think in Parable of the Sower, she talks about how diversity is a strength, right? But that's if you can get it to work together, right? Like pull together with all your diverse possibilities as opposed to fracture along, fault lines. So I think this is our challenge right now. And I wish I knew, what to do, but, again, God has changed. So how do we change the system that got us here?
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Speaking of, go ahead. I heard you take a breath. Was somebody about to say something?
Oh yeah, I've got some things to say. So one of the things that Octavia said was that her "Make America Great" slogan was actually taken from Reagan.
Reagan, right?
Yeah, so that was who she was referencing, because Trump was not on her radar at that time.
No.
The other thing, again, I don't know if this is what she would have said. Maybe not, but I know from having lived as long as I have that when you have laws that are foolish, you have a bunch of people who disrespect those laws.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of people, and I'm thinking back to times when I was younger and people were smoking illegal pot. They
Right.
really did not trust the law. So it was nice to be on the side of the law for a while, but the fact that the law has moved on, well, like you say, God has changed, and we're going to watch what happens next and change too. And if it means that we're no longer on the side of the law, then we're somewhere else.
Right. I mean, as we have, slavery used to be legal.
Right.
Right?
Right. I mean, so there are many, and people had to resist that. I mean, all the strictures now on women, yeah, I grew up and those were there. And then they changed, and now they've changed back. So I think Nisi and I are similar in terms of how much we have seen.
Yeah.
So, and I think the thing about Octavia too, yeah, right. But I think the thing when you said Reagan said "Make America Great Again," that's a conservative mindset. There's some nostalgic moment when America was great, and that repeats itself, right? And so we have to go back to that moment when we were great, whenever that was. But remember, I said slavery was legal. Probably in those moments that they thought America was great. Hello. So I think part of her prophetic vision is that she understands human beings, right? So she understands, it's not so much that she said, oh, Trump, it's that she understands that figure and how that figure could emerge. And so she's able to, create a story for 2024 using her understanding of the moments that she's in, or Reagan or whatever, to see how people act and are and relate, and then to like speculate on what that would mean if these things happen, and then show it to us. So that to me is one of the profound things about being prophetic. It's not just seeing the future, it's understanding who we are, and understanding God has changed. But, also, I mean, she was really concerned about that we're intelligent and we're also hierarchical and into dominance. And so that struggle is going to constantly throw up certain questions, certain people, certain dilemmas, certain struggles. And those, they may change in shape and size and whatever, but at the root is a lot of, what it means to be alive, what it means to be a hierarchical, human beings.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Agreed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
You're putting in a few rules for predicting the future. Yes.
yes.
yeah, just to underline what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's so aligned. And now we're like in Xenogenesis, like that
Yep.
observation about humanity being both intelligent and hierarchical, and that will be our downfall was like such a woo, light bulb moment for me. We're going back to Parable of the Sawyer. Um, Eventually we make it to Acorn, which felt like would be a utopia. So how did you feel when our team of travelers under the guidance of Lauren, settle, create Acorn?
Oh, me, I thought like, well, that will be fun, and failed. Because to me, a utopia is a process. It's not an end. It's the journey. So yeah, and I try to bear that out in my work, but I think that's what she meant. That's what she was going for. What do you think, Andrea?
I totally agree. I think she's hopeful but not optimistic, and so those are often confused. So hopeful means we have the seeds, right? It's the God is change part. That's hopeful. Like I'm paddling, but there's a waterfall. But if I don't paddle, I'm definitely going to go over it. But even if I do paddle, I might go over it, right? That's where she leaves us because we're like heading for the waterfall. But if you don't paddle, you will not survive. So I think she wants us to have the tools to survive, and maybe we get to shore for a little bit, but it's not like and they lived happily ever after. That's not going to be the end. But she's also not tragic. In other words, I don't think she feels doom and gloom because we're evil. So she's not going there or we're stupid. I think she feels that God has changed, so that what Nisi said, it's a constant process. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. That's, Sweet Honey in the Rock, right? And, because it's never going to be done. It is not an end game. It's not a finish point. It's a process. So we can't just go, oh, okay, now we've arrived. There is no, it's the journey, like Nisi said. And we're on the journey, and we have to recommit to the journey on a regular basis. We have to keep paddling. We have to keep figuring out, God has changed. So we have to shape change and hope that the change is what we want that will include us. But we can't think that now we're there. I mean, and certainly we've seen that recently. Oh, I thought we worked that one out. But no, not yet, not quite.
I love that. So using Parable of the Sawyer as a starting point, and then bringing in your own work, what do you think the role of speculative and/or science fiction is in social justice?
Ooh.
Aren't you glad it's my turn to go first?
Yeah, go first, Lisa. You said that one. You fix that one. Come on.
Sorry, I'm laughing so hard I'm shaking the phone. No, the role of speculative fiction, well, everybody sees that differently. Everybody is, I saw an interview with Cadwell Turnbull yesterday, and someone asked him, well, why do you write speculative fiction? And I was already putting the words in his mouth, and he had some different words in his mouth. He was not talking about deprivileging the status quo. He was talking about being wild and amazing.
Having fun.
Yeah. So I will say that I wrote an essay about Octavia, it was a letter in the form of a letter to her.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I tried to get across is that everybody has to be their own Octavia, which goes back to what you were saying, Andrea, about Lauren saying, I'm going to have to rescue myself. We all have to be our own Octavias, and speculative fiction is a way of doing that, of making our own predictions of the future, of having our own hopefulness to go with. So I love speculative fiction for my reasons. You love it for yours, and hopefully we can be stronger by combining those different reasons.
Yeah, people ask Octavia, like, why are you writing like science fiction and fantasy? You should write realism, because we need realism. They really did say that. I mean, and they often say that to people who are not, quote, part of the dominant culture, because, speculative fiction is supposedly metafiction, and people don't know enough about who we are for us to be speculating and flying about. And I'm like, really? No, fiction is always, to me, about that thing, where you just go out there and find something you haven't thought or figured out or worked on, or something you want to play with, something you're doing. It's always about that. And that's about being free. So to me, the act of writing what you want is part of our liberation. Like, it's part of like my imagination can encompass anything. I don't have to be limited to Mama on the Couch plays, which is what we call them in the, because, Lorraine Hansberry wrote, Raisin in the Sun. So everybody was supposed to write that because that's going to save the race. I'm like, really? I don't.
Oh, that frozen again.
She'll be back in a second.
I'm writing what she wrote when she didn't want to write it no more. After she wrote that play, she did not write that play again and again and again and again. So
you said she wrote some fantasy. She wrote fantasy, didn't she?
She wrote science fiction and fantasy. That's what she wanted. She wrote future stuff. Several plays. She wrote about Africa in the future. For her, it's we look at it and go, oh yeah, that happened. But when she was writing it, it was future Africa, or or she wrote about after a post-apocalyptic thing. What will the children do without elders to teach them, and how will they form societies? So she wrote plays like that. So and I think that what I take from Octavia, because everyone I know was giving me her work when I was younger. They were like, oh my God, like when this book came out, I have Pearl Clay's book, because she gave it to me. She was here in Northampton, and I had invited her to be a writer in residence, work on her first novel, and we were doing plays and students were working with her, and she read this book and gave it to me. And so this is her copy that I now have. And that's how it was. People were handing me her books. So that's what I think I'm writing for. Like someone will go, this book is perfect for so-and-so, and they'll hand it to them. And it changed my life. I read it and I'm like, oh, yes. It was the story I needed at the moment, and Pearl knew it. And so she gave it to me. So that's how stories work. This story will really change you. And I don't know which you that is. It could be, so I'm hopeful. Yeah. That I can offer someone, something that I have noticed, felt, done, seen, and they can like run with it. And that to me is about our liberation. So it's imagining myself, in other moments, not just in the ones that they said I had to be in.
I love it. We're winding down. So this is the question I'm most excited about. What are you working on now? I mean, like we talked about published works, but I know both of y'all have projects that y'all are working on, like some soon to be published, like later this year. But what are you working on now?
It's your turn, Andrea.
Oh, okay, I'll go first. I'm working on The Redemption Center is closed on Sundays. that is it's speculative, but it's also a murder mystery. So, and I'm having fun. So just what I said, I'm also, the murder mystery it takes place in a small town. So it's about the community. It's about the interconnected individuals. So it's not just about like the detective who will solve it. It's like, who are the people and how are they affected by the events and how are they interconnected and how can they help solve this question and how can they survive the violence and how can they, again, make a world that they want to feel free and live in. And there's a dog. Who I've been really into dogs. So there's a detective dog who is ahead of everyone because they know who the murderer is. They can smell them. So they have, and they tracked them down once, but they haven't been able to find them again. But, like it's a dog. So how does the dog communicate what it knows to the people? And so I'm having fun with that sort of question. And then there are, love affairs and, like funny things happening as well as, like trying to solve the murder.
Yeah. What type of breed of dog is it? I learned so much about dogs in our past conversation, so I'm fascinated by this. What breed of dog is it?
But dog, it's a Saint Berdoodle. Did you ask what the dog was?
Yeah. Breed.
Yeah, it's a Saint Berdoodle. And that's a Saint Bernard and a poodle. And they are called Saint Berdoodles. That's one of the names you can have for them. I love that name, Saint Berdoodle. And my next door neighbor has a Saint Berdoodle. And one of the reasons I decided to make that breed the
Come back.
way. Oh dear. So the dog makes you chase her. And I even named the character in the book after my neighbor dog, Una. You must chase Una, right? Una will make you chase her. Una will snatch something and run off, and you must run after Una. And I just absolutely, and Una's a very big dog too. So I was amazed at her sense of herself in the world. And so she makes you chase her. So I like that.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. I'm excited. Nisi, I see your page up for Octavia, who knew this day would come. And yeah, excited for you to share with us what you're working on.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the dedication to Everfair. So I'm working on two things simultaneously. I'm a two-fisted writer. One is a short story that I'm revising for an anthology that's a tribute to Tanith Lee. The story's called Like It's Golden, after that song by Jill Scott. Living your life like it's golden. Living your life like it's golden. Yeah. The other, I just realized Octavia's influence on this yesterday. I'm writing a fake self-help book based on something that I had a dream about, a movement that I had a dream about, and that I've worked into like 4 short stories and this novella that's coming out this fall. It's called The 5 Petals of Thought. And I just realized, oh wait, that's kind of like the Book of the Living.
Yeah.
It's exactly like the Book of the Living, except it's a totally different philosophy. But yeah. In concept it is. So big influence there, Octavia.
The 5 Petals of Thought comes out later this year?
No. The book that's coming out later this year is the Day and Night books of Mardu Fox, but there are a couple of practitioners of the 5 Petals of Thought in that book and in a few other stories I've written. And so just like, you have you have verses from the Book of the Living in Parable of the Talents and Parable of the Sower.
The sower, right?
Yeah, so you have snippets of things that are written about the 5 petals of thought in the Day and Night books of Mardu Fox and the Third Petal and New Action and these other stories. That's all.
Yay! Awesome. Last week I think I did an Octavia Butler theme, this or that. I think I can ask like 2 questions in the next 4 minutes, and I will try to also make them Octavia Butler themed. And with a parable of the Sawyer focus, we'll see how this lands. First question: Pasadena, California, or Seattle, Washington?
Oh, Seattle. Seattle.
Way Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, Seattle. We're Seattle people. Yeah.
Seattle times 2. Next question: Lauren, Oya, Olamina, or Lilith? And I can't remember Lilith's last name, but Lilith from the Exogenesis series.
I think I like the stubbornness of Lauren better.
Okay. And I can't tell if Andrea is with us or still.
Which one? Which one, Andrea?
Lauren? Oh, am I frozen?
Yeah, so you're back now. So can you?
Okay, Lauren.
Okay.
Lauren.
Okay. Awesome. If you have responses, you can drop them in the chat. I'll see them and I'll also bring them into the discussion. Okay, this is my last one. Can I think of the last one? Oh, I want to say Bucola or what's another love interest in another Octavia Butler book that is not Doro?
No. I think Bancola is the one because I think their whole relationship, because he's a doubter at the beginning. It's very interesting, you know. But hangs in.
Not Bancola for me. I think that might be our big difference there. I was so tired of Bancola. Just over. Yes, over Bancola. Not worthy of her. Sorry.
I like
Maybe.
it.
Well, who then? I'm open to.
Now, I don't know the name of that alien that was in the threesome with Lilith. Yeah, that was someone who was very open from the beginning to things being different. I don't know the name of this alien.
I know he was Owen Colley, and his name started with N. Yeah. I mean, I agree, but I read it in book club, and then like people were like, "Oh no, he did not ask for consent. There's so much he should have told Lilith." And I was like, "No, he's a good person." So now I look at the whole thing very differently.
Yeah, consent is a human concept.
Yeah.
On that, I think that's a great line to close this discussion on.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. This is such a thought-provoking discussion for me. I hopefully this doesn't come off as condescending or who is ISIS to say this, but and with the knowledge I have now, Octavia Butler would be extremely proud of both of y'all. So thank you for your work, and your connection and your conversations. I greatly appreciate it. As both a reader and a bookseller. So so thank you.
Yay, yay. Yeah.
And I'll stop here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. A pleasure, as always.
Yay. We will all talk soon. And yes, Timothy also says thank you for a wonderful conversation. And yes, and as people rewatch, all the resources and comments are in the chat. All right, have a great long weekend, everyone. Bye. See you
Okay.
next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.